Guys, it is Dawn with Dawn Renee's Designs, and as you can see, we're just going to jump right into today's project. This is my little sideboard that I had bought a couple months ago for my dining room, and it's super cute. It's an older piece, and so I thought it's time to give it a facelift so that it looks like it belongs in my dining room. So just working on all of the prep for it. As you can see, I had swept it all out with my little portable shop vac. That thing is handy. I had a really hard time getting the hardware off from this piece, so I edited out like the 10 other ways that I tried to get that hardware off. Thankfully, I was able to get it off, as you can see. And then here I am using Crud Cutter. I had never used Crud Cutter before, and like I had mentioned, I'd already had this in my house for a couple of months, and so I had already cleaned it down multiple times, but I used this Crud Cutter on it before I painted it because I just really want to have a super clean surface. I got it at Walmart, and let me tell you, that stuff works really, really well. I definitely recommend it. Now, because I decided to use some paint that I have on hand, which is actually, paint that I got from Sherwin-Williams. It's the paint that matches my trim there that you can see in the picture. I think it's called Snowbound, and I'm pretty sure it's Pro Classic from Sherwin-Williams. But because I'm not using chalk paint, and this piece had a very glossy finish on it, so I needed to make sure that that paint was going to have good adhesion there. So I just did a quick sanding. I think I probably used 60 or 80 grit, something that was pretty coarse, and just gave it a good sanding all over. The top was primarily the glossiest, but I wanted to give it a sanding all over and then just wiped it down. I'm going to go through the prep here and the painting pretty quick, because at the end of this is where I believe the magic comes alive in this piece, and I'm super excited to share that with you. So this painting part, I just wanted to go through kind of quickly. Nothing really special about it. I used a roller. I used what I had on hand as far as a roller goes as well, and I used, I think the roller was for like semi-smooth or something like that. If I were to buy something for this, I would probably have bought a smooth roller for this particular project. But anyways, I just painted it all over with a roller. I did use a paintbrush to get in those tight places that you can't get into with a roller. I decided I really wanted this to have a fresh, clean feel. So I actually painted the inside. Down there at the bottom, you can see there's a couple of doors. I painted all of that on the inside. I painted the side of the drawers. I just really wanted to have this, have this piece to have a really fresh, clean feel to it. Can you see my little helper there that's always with me? That's one of my dogs. I have two dogs, and that is Lexi that's laying back there behind the sideboard. You can see her. She's pretty much in all of my shots. She's attached to me at the hip. As I speak, she's right here by my feet. Just to give you a little backstory about where this piece came from, there's a lady here locally that takes in rescue animals. I know she's taken in horses, lots of dogs. A lot of times these animals need medical attention, and she has a barn full of furniture. I'm not sure if she gets it all as donations or how she does that, but anyways, she sells this furniture so that she can pay for the medical needs of the animals. So I loved supporting her venture and her love for animals. So I was pretty happy to get this piece from her. Not to mention, she has a barn full of furniture. Like, who doesn't want to go look at that, right? Okay, so after I got that piece painted, I made some fudge. So I thought it would be fun to just kind of share that with you. I mean, you do have to do something fun, right, when your paint is drying. Anyways, as a kid, on Sunday nights, we would not have a supper. We would have popcorn and fudge. And so this recipe is my mom's recipe. So here it is, just getting it poured out into the pan. Doesn't that look amazing? And of course you have to scrape it out, but you don't have to scrape it all out, right? Because you have to test it, taste test it. Anyways, I do. Yummy. So here I am, back working on the piece. I just gave the top and the top only a real quick sanding. I used, I think it was 220 or 320 grit on that. I just wanted to have as smooth of a surface on the top as possible. So between the coats of paint, I did sand just the top with that sandpaper and then wiped it down. I ended up putting 3 total coats of paint on this. So this one is the second coat. And again, look who is over there on the right-hand side, my sweet Lexi. And so I ran into a little problem. I was a little concerned about this when I first started doing this piece. I was worried that there might be a little bleed through. And after that second coat, I noticed that there was some bleed through, just in a few places. So this is shellac, and I'm just putting on a coat. I didn't put it on all of it. I noticed some bleed through on the drawers, so that's what I'm doing outside. There was just a couple of places on the actual sideboard itself, and I did hit it with that shellac as well. And here I am putting on the third and final coat. Okay, so here we are to the fun. I decided that I really wanted to add some pretty to this piece, so I am lining the drawers. So I just measured them. Here you can see my fabric, just fabric that I had left over, and I'm just getting it cut. I always find that cutting fabric takes me a really long time, so I just took my time, and I did edit a lot of it out just so you weren't bored. But just got that all cut up exactly to the size of the drawer. It did have that factory edge on it, so that's what I'm doing here, is just cutting off that edge that didn't look so great. Now you don't have to worry about ironing this. As you can see, it's pretty wrinkly, but you will never notice that once you get it into the drawer, so no worries about that. And I'm just using a rotary cutter to cut it. Okay, so here I'm just dry fitting it. I just want to make sure that it's going to fit in there how I want it to. I'm using Mod Podge, and then this is a matte finish. I'm just going to pour it right into the drawer and then spread it all out. What I should probably mention is that these drawers did have some fabric in them, which was pretty typical from, you know, the hutches of that time frame, and it came out pretty easy. You'll see it in a little bit. I had in the other drawer, it had a lot of fuzzies left on it, but I'm going to show you what I did in that drawer and see how that one turns out as well. So just getting that Mod Podge everywhere. And here we go. The great thing about this is that it's really easy to adjust the fabric. If it's not perfectly where you want it to be, just pick it up, move it a little bit. With the Mod Podge being wet, it makes it really easy. And you just move your hand over it and it gets all of those air bubbles out. It really flattens out beautifully. Look at how pretty. Oh, I love it. Okay, now this is the drawer I was telling you about. You can see how it's pretty dark in the bottom. And you can see that this is a drawer that, I don't know, had some kind of special dividers in it. The dividers I don't have. And I decided I didn't want to take out those pieces that held the dividers in place. So I just left them in there and I painted. And it's pretty rough on the bottom there. So I had to put in a little bit more Mod Podge in this particular drawer than the other one, just because it absorbed it a little bit. But I just did the same thing, basically getting it all covered in Mod Podge. And then I'm going to show you how I was able to get the fabric in there with those extra wood pieces and up along the edge. Okay, again, just working on that edge that's closest to me, trying to get it lined up and in place. And then here I am literally taking the fabric and just tucking it underneath those wood pieces. And I'm just going to do the same thing on this other edge, just tucking it right underneath there. You can see how pretty that looks with the sides painted white. It just really looks clean and crisp. And then adding in that fabric as a drawer liner, it just gives it so much pretty, so much wow. And then I'm putting on the hardware. This hardware I bought at Hobby Lobby. They do have it 50% off. I believe it's every other week. Sometimes you really kind of have to push through there when you've painted it. On some of those, I actually had to put the hardware through on the backside as well, just to kind of get it broken through. Now, I didn't even have to paint these doorknobs because they went with the white paint of the sideboard so well. But if it didn't, I would have painted them as well. And look at that. This is the finished product. Ooh, it was so pretty. I decided not to rough it up. I just really wanted a very clean, crisp look to go with my dining room. And here you go. Look at how pretty. Ooh. If you guys would do me a huge favor, if you would subscribe, comment, like this video, it just encourages me to put together more content. I really enjoy doing this, and I hope that you've become inspired by watching this. Thanks so much.